أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. والحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين، سيدنا ونبينا وحبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد
وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين، واللعن الدائم على أعدائهم أجمعين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا والعاقبة للمتقين. Tonight's topic for my lecture, it is the principle of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam versus the principles and ideals of his opponents. If you look at history, and particularly the history of Ali ibn Abi Talib, you find that Ali ibn Abi Talib was a victim of his own principles, his own ideals and values that he stood for, the ideals that he had in his mind and what he has adopted. Eventually, it is those ideals that has caused him his life. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam was the first one to declare Islam after the Prophet, peace be upon him, was the first one to join the Prophet in his mission. As he described it, he says, Allahumma innaka ta'lam annahu lam ya'buduka ba'da rasulillahi qabli ahad. You know very well that no one after the Prophet has worshipped you before myself. Ali ibn Abi Talib is the one who have sacrificed his entire existence, whatever that he had, in the way of the Prophet, peace be upon him. At a very early age, he used to go out with the Prophet in his mission, the Prophet, peace be upon him. When the small children of the mushrikeen would attack the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib used to defend him. On the night of migration of the Prophet, when he left Mecca toward Medina, Ali ibn Abi Talib sacrificed his life and stayed in his bed, knowing that those mushrikeen had only one thing in their mind, and that killing of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Yet, he has sacrificed his life to save the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him. When he migrated to Medina, and the society of Islam was started at that time, the Prophet was engaged or was forced to engage in battles and fighting. Ali ibn Abi Talib participated in all of those battles for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The famous word of the Prophet, peace be upon him, that he has said that if it were not the sword of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the wealth of Khadija, the foundation of Islam would never been erected. لولا سيف علي بن أبي طالب ومال خديجة ما بني للإسلام ما بنى الإسلام ولا اخضر له عود. That was the words of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Now, after the demise of the Prophet, Ali ibn Abi Talib also left, or actually bowed down and gave up his absolute right for the Khilafah. The Khilafah, the succession of the Prophet, was his absolute and basic right. Yet Ali ibn Abi Talib, when saw that the other side is fighting for it and had a clinch in it for the sake of the community, to safeguard the Islamic nation from collapse and from falling apart, Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam stayed at home and gave up his right. As he said it eloquently, he says, وَاللَّهِ لَأَسْلِمَنَّ مَا سَلِمَتْ أُمُورُ الْمُسْلِمِينَ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ جَوْرٌ إِلَّا عَلَيَّ خَاصًّا. I will be peaceful as long as the affairs of Muslims are in peace. People are in peace. I also will, give up my right and sit at home in order to safeguard the nation. And if there is any oppression or injustice, that would be only applied to myself. I would accept that one. Despite that, it was his own absolute right. Abu Sufyan came to Ali ibn Abi Talib after the demise of the Prophet and told him, Ya Ali, it is your absolute right. I have so many of the warriors, we can defend you. We can start a war, a battle to take your right away from them. But Ali ibn Abi Talib refused and scolded Abu Sufyan. Told him, you're not saying this for the sake of me. Rather, you want to bring havoc and disaster to the Islamic nation. Therefore, I refuse this. So Ali ibn Abi Talib, despite the hardship, he stayed patient at home. As he says, فَصَبَرْتُ وَفِي الْعَيْنِ قَدَى. I stayed patient as if there is a spine in my eyes. وَفِي الْحَلْقِ شَدَى. If there is the same spine as in my throat, someone who cannot, swallow and cannot get it back. This is how Ali ibn Abi Talib described the situation. Now when he became Khalifa, of course, not because he wanted, he was hesitant and reluctant to accept the Khilafah. But the Muslims have forced him. They came in a flocks of people, waves and waves of people coming and pledging allegiance to the Imam alayhi salam. When he describes that moment, he said people came and flocked toward me in a way that Hassan and Hussein were caught in a stampede. People stepped over them to make bay'ah to myself. This is how people have rushed to Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Despite his reluctance, eventually he took power. He became the Khalifa. Yet, at every occasion, he would repeat his slogan. He says the purpose of accepting the Khilafah. He had a very worn out shoes, an old shoes, worn out shoes. He would take the shoes in front of people repeatedly and would say, Wallah, lahiya ahabbu ilayya min imratikum hadi. This worn out shoes that you see, this one that is torn into tiny little pieces, to me, I would enjoy these shoes more than the enjoyment of this Khilafah, of this leadership that you are giving me. Except, إِلَّا أَنْ أُقِيمَ حَقًّا وَأَدْفَعَ بَاطِلًا. This Khilafah, to me, worth less than these shoes, except if I repel injustice or I erect justice at that time, Khilafah worth it. And many times he would say, وَلَأَلْفَيْتُمْ دُنْيَاكُمْ هَذِهِ أَزْهَدُ عِنْدِي مِنْ عَفْطَةِ عَانِسِ. This entire dunya that you have, this power, this lustrous Khilafah that you think, is something very grandiose and worthy, to me, is less worthy than a sneeze of a goat. What is a sneezing of a goat worth? That is to Ali ibn Abi Talib worth more than this Khilafah. This is slogan Ali ibn Abi Talib used to repeat many times. Now, once he became the Khalifa, various people, various groups of people rushed him to war and battle against him with prominent figures, with iconic figures in the Islamic history, under different slogans, under different justifications. Each of those groups had their own slogans, fake slogans, bringing up to collect masses, to bring masses, and collect followers in order to fight Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Now the Imam alayhi salam had this beautiful saying. He said that once I became Khalifa, once I became in charge, that has happened. فَلَمَّا نَهَضْتُ بِالْأَمْرِ نَكَثَتْ طَائِفَةٌ وَمَرِقَتْ أُخْرَى وَقَصَدَ آخَرُونَ. Once I declared Khilafah and I was in charge, then those various groups, 3 different groups, came to fight me. The first one were the Nakithin, those who broke up their promises. The second were the Mariqin, those who were rogue and broke up with the Islamic community and became rogue. And the last one were the Qazwini, those who were aggressors against me. All those groups came to fight me. Didn't they hear the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? كأنهم لم يسمعوا قول الله سبحانه تلك الدار الآخرة نجعلها للذين لا يريدون علوا في الأرض ولا فسادا. They have not heard this beautiful ayah, this beautiful verse, as God says that the hereafter belong to those who does not seek ulterior position nor corruption in this life. Didn't they hear this? Then he answered, he says, بَلَا لَقَدْ سَمِعُوهَا وَوَعَوْهَا. They have heard this ayah. They are very well aware of it. But the problem is, وَلَكِنْ حَلِيَتِ الدُّنْيَا فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ وَرَاقَهُمْ زِبْرِجُهَا. The life was so sweet to them. They were captivated by its shining, by its ornament. This is how Ali ibn Abi Talib describes his opponents, his rivals, is that they had, their rallying cry is for certain slogan, for a justification. But in reality, this was nothing but an empty promise, a loose slogan, a fake one, just to shore up support from the community, from different members of the nation in order to battle me, to fight me. And this is, brothers and sisters, this is the psychology of warmongers. If you look at throughout history, you see those who seek war, they come with lustrous slogans, as it's, for freedom fighting. We are fighting for the cause of a freedom. We want to spread freedom. We want to get rid of the weapons of mass destruction. We need to make people also taste freedom and democracy. And those words, but in reality, what their purpose is just one thing, as Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam described it. وَلَكِنْ حَلِيَتِ الدُّنْيَا فِي أَعْيُنِهِمْ. It was the taste, the beauty of this universe, this dunya, that has kept them captivated, and they were seeking nothing but this dunya. They were only seeking power and wealth and name recognition. That's it. Anything else is an empty promise, has no reality in it. In my lecture tonight, brothers and sisters, we will compare the principles of Ali ibn Abi Talib, the ideas that he came with them to the power, versus the principle of those who opposed him and have fought him. After your big and loud salawat. From the very beginning that Ali ibn Abi Talib took power, what he did, he purged all those corrupt and spoiled governors. He asked them to leave. Some of them were weak enough to leave. Some of them were very strong. They had masses behind them. They had people behind them. They had gangs behind them. But to Ali ibn Abi Talib, in order to lay the foundation of justice and fairness, you see, brothers and sisters, the Prophet, peace be upon him, came with an upheaval, with a revolution to the society. It brought justice, fairness to the society, where the weak was eaten by the powerful, was destroyed by the powerful. The Prophet, peace be upon him, it brought those new ideas, new concept to the nation. Unfortunately, after the demise of the Prophet, it was only the name that was saved, Islam. But in reality, the spirit of the nation reverted back again to the old Jahiliyyah. Ali ibn Abi Talib forcefully came to adopt the same ideals that the Prophet, peace be upon him, has brought up. For him to make a just society, a fair society, he has to lay the ground. The foundation should be based on justice. Therefore, from the first moment, he purged those who were corrupt, who were oppressors. The advisors came to Ali ibn Abi Talib and told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, there are a few governors that are strong enough. They can challenge your authority. They can cause a trouble for you. If you purge them now, if you dispel them now and ask them to leave the government, they will cause a trouble. Leave them for a while. Don't touch them. Once your foundation becomes strong, your government becomes sturdy, at that time, you go and ask them to leave. But in this moment, at the beginning, they will cause trouble for you. They will cause trouble for your kingdom. The answer of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam says, أَتُرِيدُونَ أَنْ أَطْلُبَ النَّصْرَ بِالْجَوْرِ. You want me to prevail with betrayal? I betray them and I betray my ideals. A bad person is a bad from the first moment, from the first day. I cannot keep it quiet, I cannot help it, but ask them to leave. My policy is against deception, against betrayal. I cannot stand to have a single governor who's not adopting the just rules. I have to ask them from the very beginning, لا أطلب النصر بالجو. I would not seek victory to be prevailing over those by betrayal. I keep them for a while. Once I become strong, I ask them to leave. What people will say about me, what my conscience will say about me. How did you leave them at the beginning? You kept it quiet, and later on, you reverted and asked them to leave. This does not work well with my own principle and a plot policy. But when you look at the previous Khalifas, the previous Khulafa, you see that they sometimes have compromised this rule. Some people come to the Khalifa and ask to change the ruler, the governor. For example, people of Kufa came to the second Khalifa, Umar ibn al-Khattab, and complained about their governor. Umar said, what I do with those Kufians? If I put someone who's pious, they ridicule him, they weaken him. If I put someone who's strong and tough with them, they consider him obscene and indecent. What should I do with those people of Kufa? One of those, obscene people, his name was Al-Mughira, was sitting there and told him, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, telling him, Al-Qawiyyu laka qawwatuhu wa alayhi fujuruhu. He told him, choose the one who's strong. If you choose the one who's strong, you will earn the credit of his strength, while he will be liable for his obscenity. Umar told him, فَذْهَبْ لَهُ. You go toward them because you are al-qawiyyu al-fajr. You are the strong, but you are the obscene. The Khalifa admitted that this man is obscene. This man is a corrupt, yet because he's strong enough, can bring tranquility to that society, he would give him the governorship of Kufa. But Ali ibn Abi Talib would not compromise for his own ideas. to him, to himself, from the very beginning, from day number one, those who are in charge have to be clean, have to be faithful. They should be devoid from any corruption. Betrayal does not work in the dictionary of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. We see that, brothers and sisters, we see that in the revolution of Imam Hussein alayhi salam. You know, Imam Hussein, when he sent his ambassador, Muslim ibn Aqil, toward people of Kufa, Muslim had a single opportunity. If he had acted on that opportunity, he could have flipped the situation, could have saved the life of Imam Hussein, and probably had even changed the direction of the Islamic history. Muslim was encountering an opportunity where the dictator, the ruler of Kufa, Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, came to visit someone where Muslim used to live in his house, came to visit him. Muslim could have come out and killed Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad while he was a guest of his friend. And that was the plan. Hani, which was the host of Muslim, told him that Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad is coming to me to visit me. Therefore, you hide, and once he settles and he feels safe, I would give you a code and you come out and kill Ubaydullah. And if you kill Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad, everything will be settled. You will save your life, you will save the life of Imam Hussein. Kufa will be changing and will have the rule of Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. And that was the plan. But for one moment, Muslim thought of this and he did not come out. Despite repeated calls, he did not come out until Ubaydullah left. When he left, Hani asked Muslim, why didn't you come out? He said, because there is one narration of the Prophet made me pause, where he said, the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, Al-Iman qayd al-fatk. Al-Iman qayd al-fatk. That belief, faith, will not go well with betrayal. I cannot betray this person. This person can, as a guest, peacefully. If I really mean it, I have to go face to face and fight this person. I would not jeopardize my own ideals and my own principles. And this is how Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, his ideals from the beginning. Right after the murdering of the second Khalifa, Umar. When Umar left, the society or the community was gathered in 6 people. There were 6 people to choose the Khalifa. Among them was Abdul Rahman ibn Auf. Umar has ordered Abdul Rahman ibn Auf to make that council of 6 people and choose the Khalifa. If Abdul Rahman ibn Auf would choose the Khalifa, that person becomes the Khalifa. Abdul Rahman ibn Auf went to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Told him, Ya Ali, I know you deserve the Khilafah. You're the best one to receive the Khilafah. I will give you the Khilafah. I will pledge allegiance to you under one condition. That you rule أبايعك على كتاب الله وسنة رسوله وسيرة الشيخين. I pledge allegiance to you that you follow the book of God, the sunnah, the tradition of the Prophet, and also the footsteps of the 2 Khalifa before you, Umar and Abi Bakr. Ali ibn Abi Talib said, Kitab Allah, the book of God, yes. The tradition of the Prophet, yes, but not the footsteps of the 2 Khalifa. Rather, my own discretion. Ali ibn Abi Talib could have easily accepted, say yes. Afterward, after he would receive the Khilafah and power, he would change his mind. But Ali ibn Abi Talib did not do that. From the very beginning, that was his principle. That was his ideal, that I stay the way that I am. I am not afraid of telling the truth. I am not afraid of to repel the injustice. Here is the word of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. He says, Wallah, la taziduni kathratu nasi hawli izza. If the entire people, the entire nation support me, that does not bring any pride to me, any joy to me. You see the statement, the politicians, they always seek agendas that are popular. Why? Because they want to receive votes. They want people to vote for them. Therefore, they choose agendas or policies that appeal to the masses, to the majority of people. But in the eyes of Ali ibn Abi Talib, this is corruption. He would not care whether people follow him or not, whether they are with him or not. He says that those masses of people, if they gather around me, does not give me any joy, nor a pride. وَلَا تَفَرَّقُهُمْ عَنِّي وَحْشًا. And even if they disperse, they leave me alone, I would never feel alone, as long as I am on the right path. This was the principle of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now let's look at the other side. What were the slogans? What were the justifications of his opponents when they came and fought Ali ibn Abi Talib? Again, with your big and loud salawat. The first group were al-Qazwini, the aggressors. It were Muawiyah and his army. Now Muawiyah came to fight Ali ibn Abi Talib under one justification, and that is seeking vengeance for the killing of the third Khalifa, Uthman. Uthman was killed in Medina by people of Medina. They surrounded him, they attacked him, and they murdered him. Now, Muawiyah came to seek vengeance for his killing, to fight Ali ibn Abi Talib, as if Ali ibn Abi Talib has murdered Uthman. Now, what has in reality has happened? Uthman, when he was surrounded in Medina, has written to Muawiyah, came to come to my rescue, come to save me. Muawiyah took an army and came all the way until he got to the outskirts of Medina. He stopped right there. He camped right there. Why did he camp there? Why he stayed in the outskirts of Medina? To make sure that Uthman get killed. In his mind, he didn't care about Uthman. He was a max opportunist. He was looking for the moment to attack, the weakest moment for the Medina people. To him, he would not care about Uthman. He wanted to use it as a slogan, as a justification for seeking vengeance. Otherwise, if he had rushed to help Uthman, then he would not become a ruler. He would not become a Khalifa. Uthman would stay a Khalifa. In his mind, he wanted to be a Khalifa. How he would become a Khalifa? He would wait until Uthman is getting killed. At that time, he asked for vengeance. And that's what has happened. Muawiyah waited until Uthman was murdered. At that time he said, Wa waylah, the Khalifa of Muslimin have been killed, and we are here to seek vengeance and revenge for his killing. Imagine someone like Muawiyah, when he goes to Iraq, fight with the people of Iraq during the time of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, as he captures the biggest swath of land in Iraq. He goes and says this in his sermon. Look at him. He says, "Ma qataltukum litusallu wala litasummu wala litahujju wala litazakku." I didn't come here to fight you so you go to Hajj, or you perform your prayers, or you observe fasting, or you pay zakat, because I know you will do all of those. I didn't fight you for those. Rather, وَإِنَّمَا قَاتَلْتُكُمْ لِأَتَأَمَّرَ عَلَيْكُمْ. I came to fight you so I become your ruler. I govern you. This is my intention. So the intention of Muawiyah was not really seeking revenge for the killing of Uthman. Rather was the power, the dunya. وَلَكِنْ حَلِيَتِ الدُّنْيَا فِي أَعْيُنِهِ. This is how Ali ibn Abi Talib described. This was Muawiyah. The second group were the Nakithin. Nakithin, those who broke up their promise. Those were the first group who went and made bay'ah, pledge allegiance to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Among them were two leaders, Zubayr and Talha, then joined by the wife of the Prophet, peace be upon him. Three entities. They first made bay'ah with Ali ibn Abi Talib in the hope that Ali ibn Abi Talib, his system will reward them something. The rewarding system of Ali ibn Abi Talib will pay them, a handsome figure, good amount of money. But Ali ibn Abi Talib was not that person that he would pay people, just give them favoritism. Ali ibn Abi Talib adopted the same rule of the Prophet. The Prophet, peace be upon him, would collect the revenues of the state, then he matched it with the population, what he has in money and how many people are there, then he distributed equally. Each person would receive maybe 2 or 3 dirhams or 4 dirhams, and he would distribute it evenly with fairness. Ali ibn Abi Talib wanted to adopt this. You see, brothers and sisters, Islam is a system of equality, system of fairness. Islam has a true Islamic. I'm talking about a true, is not the Daesh one that now they're saying a Dawla Islamiyya. We're talking about a genuine Islamic state that was erected by the Prophet, peace be upon him, was conducted by Ali ibn Abi Talib. Those were the 3 identities of this system. Number 1, equal rights. There is no ethnicity that certain laws would be applied to it, rather other ethnicities, those laws would not be applied to. All were equal in front of law. Equal rights and equal duties. The second feature was the equal opportunity. Every member in the society, they have their opportunity. Right for education, right for a dignified living condition, right for equal exploitations of the country's resources. Those were the Islamic ideas. One day the Imam Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam is moving in the streets of Kufa, and he finds someone, a beggar who was not Muslim, was a Jew, was begging. Ali ibn Abi Talib says, "What is this?" He does not say, "Who's this?" He says, "What is this? What kind of absurdity is this? That a man, after, this man was an old man, he said, after that he worked so hard, you have sucked up all his energy, now you have left him begging in the street. What is this?" Then he asked his treasurer to come and give him enough sustenance, enough money to stop him from begging. There is no difference between a Muslim and non-Muslim in a society. As long as we are citizens, as long as we are members of the society, we have the right to exploit the resources of the community. And the third thing, brothers and sisters, the applicability of laws to every citizen. We don't have a certain group that is above the law. Of this person, the law does not apply to it. One day the Prophet, peace be upon him, there used to be one young lady from a famous tribe, had stolen certain money. The Prophet brought her and said that this lady, her hand has to be amputated. They told him, "Ya Rasulullah, she's from a very well-known tribe. Her father is a tribal leader." The Prophet, he said, "Wallah, law kanat Fatima bint Muhammad." If she were Fatima, the daughter of Muhammad, and have done this, I haven't amputated her hands. Everyone is equal in front of the laws. The laws are applied to anyone. You see, brothers and sisters, what tarnish an equal society, it's the justice system. when there are laws that are applied to certain people while other people, are considered above the law. Or the law indiscriminately touches on certain group of people while others, have favoritism, enjoy the favor in the society. For example, the laws in Europe, the laws against hijab. Why would it be against hijab? Isn't it a freedom? Someone who wants to wear her own Islamic attire, isn't she entitled to do that? Why do you single out a Muslim that wears her own hijab in public school or an Islamic attire in public, in the street? Why there is certain discriminations against them? And ironically, they declare themselves, a free people. Sometimes due to racist policies. If you do this, then we will cut your hand. But if someone else does this, we will leave you alone. Here, you burn the Quran, it's acceptable. This is a freedom of expression. But God forbid, if you question the allegation of Holocaust, then you are entitled to receive the severest punishment. What is the difference between the two? This guy is burning the Holy Quran. He's obliterating the sanctities of 1.5 billion people. But under the title of free expression, he's entitled to do what he wants, what he pleases. But if some historian, some knowledgeable person, some scholar person, sit down and tells you, based on my evidence, based on my study, I think Holocaust has been exaggerated. It's an exaggeration. Then he would receive punishment to 3 years and 5 years in prison. These are that causes the civil society to tarnish. Therefore, Ali ibn Abi Talib from the beginning was adopting this rule that we consider everyone equal. Those two leaders, Talha and Zubair, came to Ali ibn Abi Talib. Now the Imam would give every single one 3 dirham. Everyone, regardless of who he is. They came along with their servants, 4 people. They came to the treasurer first. The treasurer told them, how many are you? They said, we are 4. He said, okay, 4 times 3, this is 12. Yeah, these are 12 dirhams. They said, you didn't recognize us. I am Talha, and he's Zubair. We are the companions of the prophets. You equate them with our servants? He said, this is the decree of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Go and talk to Ali ibn Abi Talib. When they go and talk to Ali ibn Abi Talib, they say, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, we are the companions. We were the ones from the very beginning with the Prophet. You are equating us with our servants. You've given us 3 dirham for each one of us. He says, Wallah, ma wajadtu fi kitabillah ma yufarriqukum. I look at the book, I look at the Quran. I did not see anywhere, any place in Quran that says favor the Sahaba and disfavor the others. Quran tells me treat them equal, and I am treating you the same way that I am treating myself. I don't see any preference that you guys have. They left, of course, grudgingly. After a while, they came back and they said, we were the beginners of the Muhajirin. We were the companions of the Prophet. You need to give us governorship. We need to govern. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam looked at them and told them that I did not see any reason that I will give you this. You may pledge of allegiance, yes, but I don't see that you are entitled for this. They said, if you don't do, then allow us to go for Umrah. We want to go to make ziyarah for Hajj. Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam told them, ما العمرة تريدان الغدرة. You want to betray, you want to go and fight. You want to go for Umrah, go for Umrah. But I'm sure you're not going for Umrah. You want to go and collect soldiers and pile masses to come and fight me. And that's what has happened. They went, and the wife of the Prophet joined them while they were camping near Basra. waiting for the moment to attack Basra, Marwan ibn al-Hakam joined. Marwan ibn al-Hakam is a very violent and venomous figure from Bani Umayyah. He came, he didn't like either one. He didn't like Ali ibn Abi Talib and didn't like the wife of the Prophet, nor the Zubayr and Talha. But he wanted to ignite the fight among them. The more he sees people get killed, the better off he is. Just like today, Israel now is enjoying, this is the best time for Israel. Looking at the masses of people in the Muslim countries fighting among themselves. Could it be better for Israel than this moment? The same thing with Marwan. Marwan wanted to cause trouble. He came, he went inside the tent and looked at them and said, to whom I would declare Amir al-Mu'mineen, I want to make salam. I should say to one of you, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Zubayr is Amir al-Mu'mineen or Talha is Amir al-Mu'mineen? Which one of you? The son of Zubayr said, Sayyid, to my father. The son of Talha said, no, Sayyid, to my father. And the fight started between the two. It was the time of the prayer now, Dhuhr prayer. Who would lead the prayer? Zubayr would say, I would lead the prayer. Talha says, no, I would lead the prayer. They started fighting over the prayers. Eventually, al-Mu'mineen, the wife of the Prophet, said, no. Let Abdullah ibn Zubayr to perform the prayer. Neither one of you. Just to be quiet, let Abdullah ibn Zubayr to pray in front of you. If they really had a good cause, if their cause was to gain their rights, their deprived rights, why they would fight among themselves? When they went and attacked Basra, they grabbed the governor, they tortured him. Again, it was the time of Salat al-Fajr, the dawn of prayer. When they were about to perform the prayer, again they start fighting among themselves. Who would go and lead the prayers until people start yelling, as-salat, as-salat, now the sun will be rising. Somebody start the prayer. But they were fighting. A reformer, someone who cares about his people, he would not bow down by those kind of things. If those were, look at how history repeats itself. Same ideology, same principle, same hatred toward the followers of Ahlul Bayt, same Muawiyah and Yazid as their leaders, yet they are fighting among themselves. We've seen Daesh and the Nusra Front, they fight in Syria. Both have same mentality. Both have came for the hatred of the followers of Ahlul Bayt. Yet they fight among themselves. What does that tell you? Do they have a real cause? Do they have a real justification? Or their slogan is authentic? It all tells you that they all have a fake slogan. They just come, with their own purposes. Is that to capture the power, to be in power, to be, in a position of power. That's what they had in their mind. Now, when the fighting erupted, before that, Ali ibn Abi Talib sent his companion, the companion of Rasulullah, Ammar ibn Yasir. He asked him to go and talk to them. But as he went to talk to them, they started, throwing arrows at him. At that time, Ali ibn Abi Talib wore his armor and went into fight against them. So those were the second group. The third group, inshallah, we'll finish, were the Mariqeen. Those rogue elements, brothers and sisters. If you look at this, believe me, here I'm not denigrating people or calling names, but I am just telling you how history repeats itself. Exactly. Those people with absurd mentality, with a perverted mentality, a draconian way of interrupting the laws, interpretations of the laws and Quranic verses. Very perverted way, called Khawarij. When you look at them, you would consider them the founding fathers of the, Daesh today, the Salafi today. the Wahhabis, exactly the same laws. They would not have any hesitation to butcher people while they call Allahu Akbar, while those people only differ in their ideology, only differ in opinion. They would butcher people. Those people, now that you see them on TVs, they kill and slaughter so many innocent lives. They have learned it from them 1400 years ago. Those Khawarij would kill people. Anyone that they would grab, they would ask him, would you renounce Ali ibn Abi Talib? If he says yes, they will leave him alone. If he says no, they would butcher him. One of them was Abdullah ibn Habbab. Habbab was one of the companions of the Prophet. Abdullah, he is a pregnant wife or a traveler between Basra and Kufa. They caught him. They told him, what is your opinion about the Khulafa, the three Khulafa? He said, I respect all of them. They told him, you have to renounce Ali ibn Abi Talib. He said, I will not renounce Ali ibn Abi Talib. No, you have to, I would not. They butchered him. They slaughtered him. Not only that, they slaughtered his wife and killed his infant. The fetus also was killed in the stomach of his wife. These were, this kind of mentality that they had. One of the scholars, let me tell you this interesting story. One of the scholars who did not belong to school of Ahl al-Bayt, his name was Wasil ibn Ata. Wasil ibn Ata was one of the Muslim scholars. One day, I would ask those young men and young sisters, please, to keep it quiet. Sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. I need a lot of salawat. Please, sallu ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. This man was traveling along with his students when they were captured by those Khawarij. The Khawarij came and told him, who are you? He said, I am Wasil. He told them, okay, to which sect you belong? He said, which sect we belong? We are non-Muslims. We are Muslims. We don't believe in any faith. And your Quran says that if a mushrik asks you for refuge, you have to give him refuge. وَإِنْ أَحَدٌ مِّنَ الْمُشْرِكِينَ اسْتَجَارَكَ فَأَجْرُهُ حَتَّى يَسْمَعَ كَلَامَ اللَّهِ ثُمَّ أَبْلِغْهُ مَأْمَنًا. We are mushrik. We are all mushrikeen. So you need to tell us. He said, okay, if you are mushrikeen, then we will deal with you in dignified way. Where are you going? We are going to Kufa. Okay, we will accompany you. We will put some guard. We will safeguard you all the way to Kufa. And we will give you some Quran, some books of Quran that you read. He said, okay. He grabbed the books, he kissed the book. He said, inshallah, we will read it. Once we are convinced, then we declare our Islam. When they left, his students looked at him and told him, what is this? What kind of rubbish is this? Why did you say that we are mushrik? He said, I saved your lives. If I had told them that we're Muslims and we're not following their footsteps, all have been butchered. You would have killed you. I have saved you from this nonsense. When you look at them, brothers and sisters, you wonder to which ideas they ascribe. What kind of religion they have. What kind of laws that they have inquired and they interpret and follow. They don't like Jews, they don't look like Jews or Christians or Muslims, nothing. Where did they come from? How they came about? Now that they are taking large swath of land in Iraq and Sham, you don't know their origin, how they came and what kind of fool they are using. Let me tell you this interesting, fake story. It's not real, but it just gets you to the point, the morale of the story. They say there used to be a monk living in a monastery. This monastery has a bell, like a church. There used to be a pelican that would sit on the bell. And then, the pelican would defecate on the bell. Now, the defecation of the pelican is acidic, mostly uric acid. What happens to the bell? This bell is made of iron. It starts to become rusty. Now the bell, when it's rung, it gives very funny noise. 1 day, 2 days, 1 month, 10 months. This monk got, really fed up with this pelican. Eventually, he put a bait for this pelican to capture. What he did, he grabbed a piece of camel meat. He marinated it in wine, and then he put it right on top of the bill. The pelican came and ate this piece of meat. As he ate, he got intoxicated. He fell on the ground. When he fell on the ground, the monk came and grabbed him. And he grabbed him and told him, "Do you know why I captured you? Do you know why? I just want to know to which religion you ascribe. If you are a Christian, you're not supposed to dunk on the bed. If you're a Jew, you're not supposed to eat camel meat. If you're a Muslim, you're not supposed to drink alcohol. Which kind of religion you have? Can you tell me which kind of religion you have?" Those are the same people, brothers and sisters. You don't know where their ideals come from, what kind of interpretations that they have. These are their own mentalities. Those were the same people who lived during the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib. And Ali ibn Abi Talib had to fight them. Now, when they asked him who they are, Ali ibn Abi Talib says that those are our brethren who have transgressed against us. Those were our brothers. Look how, with dignity, with respect, he treats those people. Tonight, Ali ibn Abi Talib was very weak and frail. Ali, he used to lift up the gate of Khaybar. Gate of Khaybar were taken and thrown 20 meters that far. Imagine from this side of the masjid to that side of the masjid. By a single hand of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Tonight, Ali ibn Abi Talib was so frail. He was laying on the bed. Even his prayer was done while he was sitting. The narrators say when we go to see Ali ibn Abi Talib, he had a rope or he had a rug that was tightening his head. The rug color was yellow. They swear that they could not tell the difference between the pale color of Ali ibn Abi Talib and the color of this rug. How much in pain was Ali ibn Abi Talib? This much fainting Ali ibn Abi Talib was. People would come, flocks of people will come, enter upon Ali ibn Abi Talib, would weep, cry. Ali ibn Abi Talib would calm them down, tell them, Allah, innaha al-jannah. Why would you cry? Why would you cry? This is heaven in front of you. They say, "Oh Ali, we know that this is heaven. You have heaven, but we are crying for ourselves. We are like sheep who have lost its shepherd, while the wolves are surrounding us from every aspect." These are the people who would come and say goodbye to Ali ibn Abi Talib, farewell to Ali ibn Abi Talib, until everyone left. At that time, Ali called upon his household members. He called upon Sukayna, he called upon Zainab and Kulthum and the rest of the daughters of Rasulullah and Ali ibn Abi Talib. They came to him, they hugged him. Zainab looked at the forehead of Ali ibn Abi Talib, was sweating. She told her father, "Oh father, you are sweating, meaning that you are getting better." He said, "No daughter, I have heard your grandfather says that إذا نزل الموت بالمؤمن سكت أنينه وعرق جبينه." If death is looming upon a mu'min, his forehead is sweating. It is my time to go and say goodbye. She hugs her father and tells her father, "Tell me, father, about a destiny that we have, a future that we have. Tell me about the story of Karbala. Is it true that we have a tragedy that is called Karbala in our way?" He says, "Yes, my daughter. It is true that you have a tragedy. I can tell you one thing, that is you and your sisters all will enter this city, Kufa, while you are all captives. At that time, Ali ibn الرحيم. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم اغفر للمؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات. تابع بيننا وبينهم بالخيرات إنك مجيب الدعوات، إنك قاضي الحاجات، إنك على كل شيء قدير. وصلى الله على محمد وآله الطيبين الطاهرين.